Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You served and forged the relationships that only being baptized in the fire of combat can develop. At FallInVeteran.com, we understand the unique bond that veterans share. That's why we've created a platform where you can connect, share experiences, and build lifelong friendships with fellow veterans. Signing up is easy. Simply visit www.fall-in-veteran.com and create your profile. Customize it to reflect your military service, interests, and hobbies. FallInVeteran.com is more than just an online community. It's a support network where you can find resources, advice, and encouragement from those who understand what you've been through. Whether you're looking for camaraderie, mentorship, or simply a place to share your stories, FallInVeteran.com has it all. Join thousands of veterans who have already found their tribe and start connecting today. FallInVeteran.com. Come join us and experience the power of community. Sign up now at www.fall-in-veteran.com.
Hello and welcome everyone to the ISCA Super Cup Series, and I sure am excited to be here this lovely Thursday night. And I'll tell you what, we're getting ready to go playoff racing. Last week in Darlington Raceway, we completed the regular season with Brandon Pasalacqua being crowned as the regular season champion. And this week I should say, we're going to be starting off the playoffs the right way at Atlanta Motor Speedway, or otherwise known as Atlanta Super Speedway. This place is like a mini Daytona. Of course, my name is Brian Britt, Big Al, of course, otherwise known as Alfonso Nixon. It's going to be my co-commentator, my partner in crime here tonight at Atlanta. Of course, Kobe Jordan's down behind the cameras. Big Al, how are you doing this evening?
Man, why'd you tell him my real name? I guess Kenny put my face on the car, so it's okay. Brian, I'm doing really good here, man. You know what? This track right here has totally got me psyched out. You know, the super speedway version of Atlanta, I think this is the third year that we've actually seen this thing, in race contention, and I think it's going to prove to be an exciting race.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think it's going to be exciting. I know our producer's excited for a different reason. He thinks there's going to be a lot of crashes here tonight, and I will say, I mean, this place is quite a interesting place. I mean, it's a super speedway / mile and a half. There will be some tire wear, but of course, for the most part, it's going to be just like a mini Daytona. Let's take a look at the details of tonight's race. Of course, we have the Fall In 250. So this race is sponsored by Fall In. Definitely an awesome veteran resource, and I'm sure Big Al would love to talk about that a little bit more a little bit later. But of course, it's at Atlanta, 1.54 miles, I do believe, a mile and a half, a little over a mile and a half, I should say. We're going to have 163 laps here tonight. Of course, stages are going to be stage 1 completing at lap 35, going to 36. So a pretty short little stage there, enough time for some really good racing. Stage 2 will complete at lap 75, going to 76. Of course, 6 sets of tires, going to have 5 actually down in the pits. Now, I talked about this. Tires actually are going to, I think, matter a lot more than what you'd see at other super speedway style racetracks. This is going to be a little bit more of a tire wear thing as well. So taking tires is going to be important. Maybe a 2-tire call could be an idea. Fuel window, though, is 73 laps. So fuel probably not going to be a huge deal for a lot of these drivers, except for when we get to stage number 3. Now, I do want to mention, though, Big Al, this is why the playoffs are so exciting. Of course, all throughout the regular season, you can win and you could go on to the playoffs, get into the playoffs. Now we're going, I do believe, 3 races. This 3 races we're getting ready to do is going to determine who's going to move on to the round of 12. If you win, you advance to the next round. So this is a big opportunity here at Atlanta, Big Al. I mean, we're going to see 4 drivers, of course, in the next 3 races go home, essentially, and not be eligible for the playoffs any longer. This is one of those tracks that you can win at. Anybody, I think, could possibly find themselves in victory lane at this track.
Yeah, definitely, because this is a track that really lends itself a lot to the swagger of Talladega and Daytona. So when they put this track together, even though it's just about a mile and a half, I mean, they were really essentially trying something new, and I think it was just for this car. So we are going to see some drivers be able to actually up their luck, if you will, and some drivers are, especially the drivers that are in contention for the playoffs. I'm just hoping that the non-playoff drivers don't make this thing too sporty.
That's a good thing to say. And of course, we do have as well, I do believe everyone that is in the playoffs does have a banner on their vehicle that'll kind of help us to know who's who in the playoffs. But let's actually take a look and see who all's in the playoffs here tonight. Of course, Patrick Gitter, he's at the top of the board right now when it comes to playoff points. Of course, we did mention Brandon Pasalacqua. He's the regular season champion, but Patrick Gitter has been the playoff king when it comes to getting playoff points, stage points, and the like. Of course, Brandon Pasalacqua is in second place right now. Derek Heitman is in third. Matt DeCiani is in fourth. Clayton Hoffman is in fifth. Abner Acosta is in sixth. Brian Johnson seventh. Randy Mullins is in eighth. Mark Sanchez ninth. Josh Schaffner is 10th. As you can see, those playoff points there. Going up, so that's going to be, I think, the main thing we're going to be looking for now is playoff points. 11th place in the standings here is Tim Wortman Jr., 12th Kenny Powell, 13th Greg Wyszynski, John Bender is in 14th, Alexander Carr 15th. I think Alexander Carr has said that he is going to be taking a provisional for tonight. 16th Randy Drumhiller, and that is those 16 cars. That is it. That is all that are in the playoffs, and that number is going to get even lower as we go into the round of 12 in just a couple weeks. And so I'll be curious to see. I know Watkins Glen, I do believe, is next week. So road course racing, we know the guys are going to be strong there. I'm not actually quite sure where we're going after that. That's going to be something I'm going to really have to look into. But I'm definitely excited nonetheless. All these tracks are going to suit different people in different ways.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the reasons why NASCAR kind of tricked it up like that, And I think there's two actual road courses towards the end of this thing. I do believe we have Sonoma and is it Watkins Glen and the Roval?
Yeah, I think the Roval is one that we're going to visit. I'm not sure exactly when, but I do believe Watkins Glen is next week. I know that a lot of people have been practicing for that one. And,
road course. Road coursing is definitely going to mix this up a lot of bit because not a lot of drivers are proficient in turning left and right, and we actually see it every time we come down. It gives out of this 16 is going to give some of those guys really a kind of a little advantage, if you will.
Well, I think now is a good time. We've got about 50 seconds left in qualifying. Currently, Josh Schaffner at the top of the board. Let's take a brief step away. We'll pay some attention to our sponsors. But before that, we'll play our national anthem. We'll be right back.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Oh, so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular upon spur, singing out, yeah, through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land
most famous words in motorsports.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series. Of course, definitely excited about this one here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Atlanta Super Speedway. We have the grid set for this evening's action. It does appear Josh Schaffner, the corn man, going to be starting up on the front row on the pole. A Paradigm front row. Actually, a Paradigm top 4 is Brian Johnson's going to be starting in that second place position, as well as third place going to be belonging to Randy Mullins. Wow, Randy Mullins is in the top 5. Fourth place, Brandon Pasalacqua. Fifth place, Jose Acosta. Sixth place, Chris Johnson. So Paradigm inhabiting 5 out of 6 of the top 6 spots. Derek Heitman starts in 7th. Abner Acosta starts in 8th place. Jason Maines in 9th. And Mark Sanchez rounds out the top 10.
That's going to show Matt DeCiani and Patrick Gitter on row 6. Row 7's J.C. Evans and Greg Wachinski. And then we're going to have Paul Hill and Jay Holm. Row 9, Paul Whitley. Welcome, Paul. And Dylan Banks. Welcome back, Dylan. Frank Flores and Randy Belt round out the top 20.
21st position is going to be Kendall LeVron. 22nd is going to be Kenny Powell. 23rd, Jeffrey Souza. 24th, Randy Drumhiller. 25th, going to be Nick King in a 3 machine. Andrew Russo, I do believe he's coming back to the league. I think we saw him in the past. 27th, Clayton Hoffman going to be starting deep in the field here for Hoffman. 28th, Derek Jacobs. 29th, Paul Olson. He's a super speedway type guy, so I expect to see Paul running really well here. 30th, John Bender. 31st, Jose Medina. So definitely excited to see what's going to happen here. Glad to see, a 31 car field here tonight, just considering a lot of times when you see these the playoffs begin and some guys are kind of taken out of the playoff picture, people stop showing up, Big Al, and I'm glad to see that 30 cars still showed up.
Yeah, still bragging rights, though. There's nothing saying that these guys can't come out here and race just as hard as everybody else. So there's that also. But look at that temp, though, man. Wow, it's going to be, 77 degrees in the seats, 108 degrees on the street. That's going to be kind of hot there with the wind speed fluctuating between 8 and 9 miles per hour, but under clear skies here in God's country.
And it looks like everyone's getting ready to start rolling here. I love this camera kind of coming off the back of the pace car. Kobe Jordan always finding some awesome camera angles for us to kind of look at. I'll tell you, we're spoiled as commentators when it comes to our producer.
Yeah, definitely. You should have seen the last guy. I mean, what a crap show.
I don't even remember who that was.
Yes, I'm trying to forget. Those are the dark days.
The dark days of ISCA. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a crying break. I'll be right back.
Oh, wait, that was you? Sorry, bud. Almost good job, Brian. Almost good job. Hey,
here we go. No, I am super happy that Kobe is with us now. I mean, it takes so much pressure off of me, and I'm just able to just focus on calling the race with you, Big Al.
Roger. Hey, before we get this thing started, man, I want to give a special shout out. Little dude, my grandson, Kyle Jaden Nixon. Happy 4th birthday to you, bud. Grandpa loves you.
Ain't that sweet. Happy birthday, Jay. Here we go. John Schaffner starting off the playoffs the right way. Starting up on the front row on the pole position here. And here we go. Into the Geico restart zone for the first time. Green flag is out. Paradigm 1 through 4. And a good start by Josh Schaffner. Able to get up through the gears. Kind of leaves Randy Mullins a little bit. Does Mullins get to the back bumper? This is going to be a very draft-dependent racetrack, as you can see. A good push coming from, I do believe, Brandon Pasalacqua to the rear end of Brian Johnson. Top line is going to be very strong here tonight, I do believe. As you can see, just a huge run of momentum down the backstretch. Brian Johnson with the lead.
Man, these Paradigm guys definitely set themselves up. You can tell they've been working really hard this week, and they must have a heck of a setup. So it's going to be interesting to watch these guys kind of stick together up front, and we'll see what the actual draft will do, if there's any advantages for these guys.
And one thing we got to mention as well, Big Al, before we get too far into this race, there has been no A Opens this week. There have been absolutely no A Opens this week. NIS is the only thing that has been the only game in town, and they've only had one of those, which was last night. So there has not been a whole lot of time to figure out what these cars are going to do in traffic.
Yeah, and that's the big deal, Brian, because, you know, it's one thing to go out and run test laps by yourself, but unless you've got a big team and a bunch of friends, it's probably going to be pretty challenging just to get the laps in this week.
Yeah, and handling is going to be a big deal. I mean, we talked about, of course, this being a super speedway style race, and it is that, but it still is 1.5 miles. There still is going to be tire wear. There is still going to be handling issues, and that's something that you're going to really want to iron out in practice. As we see, I do believe the 48 of Jose Medina coming down pit road. I'm not sure what's going on here. Looks like he's might be having a drive-through penalty for Jose, which is shocking. I didn't hear anything about that. I know that he was involved in some crashes last week. We do see J.C. Evans making a little bit of a cautious decision to go to the rear of the field. As I'm watching Greg Wychinski. He's trying to cut his way through the field, going through the middle, almost 3 wide, trying to get there underneath teammate Mark Sanchez. Not quite able to get there. I talked to Greg, I do believe it was last night, if I'm not mistaken. And Greg told me, he said that once the playoffs start, now that I've made it into the playoffs, it's going to be a different Greg Wychinski. It's going to be a Greg that's going to be trying to go for wins. Because, I mean, I feel like a lot of ways those G&G guys have been kind of hanging out. They really haven't been pushing the envelope as much as they have in the past. So I expect we're going to see G&G really make a concerted effort to get up here and win races.
Wait, so when you were talking, I was listening. Get it? But when you said that Greg was now going to try to win, I'm like, well, shouldn't you always be trying to win? Isn't that the point of racing?
Well, I guess he's just going to take it up a notch, put more work in. I think that was the whole deal, too, put more practice laps in. Because, when you show up on Thursday, Big Al, you want to win, but also the other days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, are you putting in work those days to make sure the car is handling right? Are you making sure you know how to drive the track? That's where you win the race at, is in that practice time.
Yeah, I understand, man. Do work. I mean, that's what he's I used to have a commander. Well, a lot of people used to have the same commander, even the CIA. But one of his catchphrases was "perfect practice makes perfect." And when you actually peel that back and look at it, it makes a lot of sense. For sure.
I mean, if you practice, you could practice constantly, but if you're practicing the wrong thing, you're ingraining bad habits. And 100%. I totally agree. You want to practice in a way to where you are ingraining good technique, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Always working to improve the craft. Because look at these guys. I mean, great camera work right there, but you get to see exactly how much these cars are getting buffeted and bounced around due to the air.
Yeah, this is definitely scary through this camera angle. But you're able to really see, like you said, the kind of the movement of the race cars and the air just kind of wiggling, making all these cars very wiggly. Josh Schaffner, who qualified on the pole, is already deep in the field. 7th place, I should say. That's not really deep in the field, but it is deep enough. I'll tell you who's been the real big movers. Patrick Gitter, in that in the Team Conti driver there. He's got Derek Heitman right there on his rear end, and that just shows how team-oriented I think this race is going to be. You're going to want to find your dancing partner and stick with them, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing Gitter and Heitman do.
Yeah, we were definitely missing Team Conti last week. You could definitely tell, the absence of that team could be felt, but, glad to see these guys back. And this is awesome because we're running for playoff points.
Yeah, and wouldn't be surprised, those guys were working on the car to try to make sure, Team Conti, Michael Conti probably doing a lot of work. And look at this bump drafting that these guys are able to do here. I mean, the Team Conti guys are hooked up right now, and I'm loving what I'm seeing here. But I'm wondering what the temperature is going to look like in the engines, because I know that was something we saw at Daytona just a couple weeks ago, was that, yeah, you could push, but you couldn't do it for long. There was like a time limit on it, and then that engine would start to get cooked, and it would be like a hot potato where you got to kind of throw it away.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is one of the unfortunate downfalls here to draft racing, which we're going to see later on in the season here at Talladega as well. But, these guys would have had to put the laps in, and they would have been able to at least try to manage that. You almost got to have a race bike mentality where, that lead car's there, and then, the next cars kind of fall back to let other cars come up and do a little pushing as well.
I'll tell you the thing I'm thinking about the most is that, when's the big one going to happen? I think it's going to happen. Because, you got to think, look at how, I think this is even more dangerous racing than what you see at Daytona or Talladega. Because, you see how just packed in like they are, and it's very hard to miss accidents at this place. It's a little easier at tracks like Daytona or Talladega. You can miss those crashes a little bit easier because there's a lot more room to do so. I don't think there's as much room at this racetrack. If someone wrecks here, almost everybody's in it.
Yeah, amen to that. And unfortunately, with the slope and the angle, everybody's kind of going to go the same place. Everybody, as the field encroaches upon Jose Medina, he's going to be wanting to figure out how he's going to get out of the way. Looks like he's going to go high, stay up against the wall.
That was close. Jose almost getting clobbered by Brian Johnson, but Jose just didn't really know where to go, as we're seeing some 3-wide action as a result of it.
Yeah,
and I think this is even more dangerous than what we see at the Daytona or Talladega, because a lot of times Daytona and Talladega, you can stamp on that top line and not have to worry about it. Those guys will be able to get around you. Here at Atlanta, depending on where you catch the guy, it might be a very dangerous thing, because, you got to think, the way the quad oval here is shaped. it's quad oval. It's almost as separate corners, and that wall comes up quick.
Yeah, you guarantee this was probably the first time any of those drivers had actually attempted that maneuver. So probably not a really good place.
Patrick Gitter sideways. He saves it. Sorry to interrupt you, Big Al. This is looking scary.
This is scary.
Shockingly, Patrick Gitter was able to save that. There goes Derek Heitman sideways as well. This is not looking good for the Team Conti bunch. I don't know if this is handling or this may be contact between the cars.
We didn't get our over-under.
We definitely did not. I'm going to go 3.
Kobe?
And, of course, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, we're doing the over-under on how many cautions are we going to get?
I'll take 4.
Kobe Jordan saying we're going to get 5 cautions. Big Al saying, of course, 4. I'm saying 3. And this, of course, is not including the stage cautions. This is, of course, just cautions for cause, for an accident. I got to say, very impressive, though, to see that Heitman and Gitter were both able to save the race cars, as well as they're back in line and working their way up, challenging for the lead again.
We're still having 3-wide scenarios of situations. It looks like Wojcinski has been left out to dry. He is kind of in the middle. They're just going to slide back up in the line. But as these guys do start to get bounced around, it's what we were talking about earlier. It's just going to be a little bit more and more difficult to keep these cars, going the right direction. Plus, you're halfway through the stage, so tires probably starting to scream a little bit as well.
No, I think that's definitely true. I think that we're even seeing the lap times start to fall off. And Daytona, you don't see lap times fall off. Talladega, you don't see that. You're going as fast as the guy that's pushing you. I mean, you're depending on them. But I mean, of course, that's the same way here. But also, you have that tire wear, and I think that could have even maybe have contributed to why Gitter and Heitman both got loose right there as well. I mean, looking at lap times right now, fastest laps on the track were 28 or 29 eighths or 29 nines. Now we're into 30.3s. I mean, that's a pretty big amount of fall off. I mean, I'd say that's about a 3/10 of fall off, and that don't sound like a lot, but it just shows that there is some sort of wear going on, and that means there might be some value to taking tires later in this race. Now, there could also be value in staying out. I think we could see that as well, and someone might be able to hang on for a lap or two, so that could be another tool in the toolbox a little bit later. As Brian Johnson, though, has essentially led every lap since the green flag fell.
Yeah, those Paradigm guys up in the high line, living the high life, So they've been doing really good this year. It seems like the majority of the teams actually transferred over into the playoffs. So that's going to give that team a really, really good shot. Also, shout out to Team Conti, G&G as well. Those also pretty well represented in the playoff chase.
Yeah, for sure. And, speaking about Team Conti versus Paradigm, last season, Patrick Gitter really just tore up the field. I mean, he was so fast. He was so consistent. And Paradigm, I felt like they played second fiddle in a lot of ways. The guys of the Paradigm team played second fiddle to Gitter. I don't think that's the case this year. I feel like this year Paradigm came with something to prove. And I got to say, I think they're proving it. They have been proving it this whole season. I mean, the way Brandon Passalacqua has been performing, he has been, I think, the true carrier of the torch at the Paradigm camp.
Yeah, I mean, he was also the regular season champion, and I think he has a pretty good shot, Brian, of actually clinching that ever so elusive ISCA championship.
Yeah, I know that's definitely his goal. Glad to see Chris Johnson out here in competition. Of course, he's running right behind Brandon Passalacqua. Jason Maines, he's worked his way up into about 8th place, close to the 7th. He's actually side by side with Schaffner right now. Yellow flag is out a little early here. I don't know if this is based on an incident. And I do believe it is the 27 of Derek Jacobs. Possibly. No, that's actually a cosmetic number. It's actually Jeffrey Souza and someone else. I think it might be the 98. 98 cosmetically has a 27 on his race car. He's down on pit road, so let's see exactly what happened here. I'm seeing Clayton Hoffman also taking a tow, so Hoffman is clearly involved somehow.
Oh, and Clayton started in the back.
Yes, he did. This is not a good start to the playoffs for the 92. Let's see exactly what happened. This is so far back here, we couldn't even see this happening.
Yeah, especially me.
I didn't see it at all, Big Al. I mean, I just had to go back to the back and see if I could find it, and lo and behold, here it is.
I'm down on one screen, people, and it's killing me.
Oh, look at that. This is actually Clayton. What a miss by Kendall. Kendall almost got in that, but somehow was able to avoid it. I think the person we're going to be wanting to look at is Clayton Hoffman. Hoffman is he's the cause of this wreck. Something went wrong with the 92 of Hoffman. And you can see that I do believe Frank Flores was right behind him. I think Frank might have got some damage. You see Clayton following the 44 Drumhiller. Not sure. It looks like he just all of a sudden started going straight instead of turning.
Yeah, that's.
So we can look on board. Oh,
that's got to be more to unpack with that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, looking at the front end here,
Oh
I
yeah,
think
he just kind of
he just
lost.
turned too late. He just turned too late. And unfortunately, I mean, it wouldn't have been so bad, but Frank Flores was behind him trying to avoid Clayton and trying to avoid him. He came down into Randy Belk, and Randy Belk unfortunately came back up and got Clayton again. So I mean, that was kind of a Clayton knocked over one domino, and the domino fell, and then got him back again. So it's just unfortunate. You know, that's going to definitely end his race for the evening, and that's unfortunate for Clayton. I mean, because, you know, when we saw him come back, Big Al, we thought, you know, this is Clayton Hoffman. This guy's going to make some big splashes when it comes to the playoffs. And to have the opening race go like this is not ideal.
Yeah, but, you know, I'm going to say this about that. At least it was a playoff driver that initiated the entire,
That's true.
skirmish, because, you know, that really puts the sugar in the Kool-Aid, if you will. It makes it more sweet for the guys to have to swallow.
Well, pace car lights have gone out. It looks like Brian Johnson has elected to start up on the top side with Pastelacqua starting on the bottom. And that was a big accident right there. And I think that took out a lot of cars. I mean, a couple cars for sure. And I think we're going to imagine if that had happened closer to the front of the field, though, Big Al.
Yeah, I think
that would have been way worse.
Especially coming up right now, it's literally going to be a shootout for stage one, and those playoff points are really going to matter. So I think we're probably still right there in the pot right now.
Yeah, I mean, we got to keep this in mind. I mean, a lot of guys don't have playoff points, even though they're in the playoffs. They don't have a lot of playoff points. There's somebody in the wall, some issues here. What is going on here? It's not the 48. That was a Mountain Dew race car. Flores, I do believe, was just up in the wall. I think that was Frank.
Sugar crash, you think?
Could be. Maybe he needs some more Mountain Dew. But here we go. Pace car getting ready to step on out of the way as we get ready to see start number 2 here tonight. That's Brian Johnson. Going to go up through the gears. He's going to have teammate or brother Chris Johnson behind him. And wow, what a disconnect there. Chris just did not get going. It looked like the top line didn't get going except for Brian. Brian got going. Brandon was able to slide up right behind the 4, so that kind of worked out well for them. And you could tell Derek Heitman was ready to take advantage of that top line going, or not going. As Heitman slips in right behind the 6 machine. As here comes Jason Maines. Maines making a big move to the inside. I don't think he's got any help, though.
Let's see Jason up front, man. Let's see what he's got. Let's see him shoot his shot here.
3 wide on the outside goes Patrick Gitter. He made a big move, trying to move past, I do believe, Abner Acosta. Acosta goes to the bottom. You said it, Big Al. This is going to probably be a wild shootout as we are coming up to 5 laps to go. Some of these guys are desperate to get a stage win. Desperate to finish in the top 10 to get some playoff points. And Jason Maines seems to be one of them. Now, I do believe Jason Maines is not a playoff driver.
That's correct.
He could be one that causes problems.
Yeah, but as long as he's racing, I mean, he's got every right as everybody else.
That's true. And look at that, big pushes going to the back end of Abner Acosta. So, I mean, even if you're a non-playoff driver, you could definitely be helping a playoff driver like Abner Acosta.
Yeah, win's a win. Whoa, what's happening here, bud?
3 wide as Derek Heitman makes it 3 wide up top. And Patrick Gitter, he tries to get up and link up with him. Ooh, this is scary right here. I'll tell you, if an accident breaks out right here, it's taking the field. But what an action-packed race so far. As will we conclude stage 1 under green as Abner Acosta has taken the lead. Abner's always the great driver at tracks where you utilize the brake. But apparently he says, I'm good at super speedways too.
I mean, what a heck of a time to be on one screen.
Is he on one screen?
I'm on one screen.
Oh. This is not a track that's conducive for one screen. You want to have VR or three triples. Because if you have triples at this track, you can see everything you need to see. I mean, look at how much stuff is going on. I mean, they're almost 4 wide at some spots.
I mean,
they're coming up to the white flag. They're racing. This is some awesome racing right here.
Yeah, if anything goes awry, though, we're going to lose a lot of high rollers here. So we're praying that these guys can actually get through this stage in one place. Peace.
White flag, getting ready to wave. And the one thing about it is the win. If you have to win this race in order to move on, or should I say to be locked in to the next round. Completely locked in. And if you wreck out early, that's stage 2. You can't get those points. Here we go. Brian Johnson somehow was able to wrangle the lead back. There's a lot of guys, I think, backed off. I think a lot of guys did not want to be in that crazy of a race.
Yeah, Abner is one of those guys. He actually dropped all the way down below the red.
I mean, I'm wondering if maybe they got a little bit worried about that 3 wide activity. As Brian Johnson able to win stage number 1. Derek Heitman comes home 2nd. Brandon Pasalacqua 3rd. Patrick Gitter in 4th. Chris Johnson 5th. Matt DeCiani works his way up to 6th. Dylan Banks 7th. Paul Hill 8th. Abner Acosta drops back to 9th. Jason Maines 10th. That's a look at the top 10 positions there. You can see they gained some stage points, playoff points. We'll take a brief step away. We'll come back and we'll talk to Brian Johnson.
You went, you served, and forged the relationships that only being baptized in the fire of combat can develop. At FallenVeteran.com, we understand the unique bond that veterans share. That's why we've created a platform where you can connect, share experiences, and build lifelong friendships with fellow veterans. Signing up is easy. Simply visit www.fall-in-veteran.com and create your profile. Customize it to reflect your military service, interests, and hobbies. FallenVeteran.com is more than just an online community. It's a support network where you can find resources, advice, and encouragement from those who understand what you've been through. Whether you're looking for camaraderie, mentorship, or simply a place to share your stories, FallenVeteran.com has it all. Join thousands of veterans who have already found their tribe and start connecting today. FallenVeteran.com. Come join us and experience the power of community. Sign up now at www.fall-in-veteran.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series. We just watched Brian Johnson win Stage 1. We're going to go ahead and grab him up. And we got him here in the booth. Brian Johnson, do you read us? Brian Johnson, do you got us?
I got you.
Hey, Brian, how you doing, man?
Doing good.
Seems like you got you a fast race car. Seems like all the Paradigm guys hooked up here tonight. What was it like from your point of view there in that racing? I mean, it just seemed like some just crazy 3-wide action.
Yeah, it got a little hairy there at the end. Yeah, we came prepared for this race, put together some fast hot rods this week, and yeah, we knew those Conti guys weren't going to wait around, so we were just waiting for them to jump out either outside or middle or inside, push us 3 wide. So, but that was some good racing there, good tight racing. I'm not sure what happened on the bottom line there, but it looked like somebody got spun. But overall, it's been this first stage was pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why that you guys were 3 wide, and all of a sudden it seemed like some guys I think got a little bit worried. Possibly, I know Abner kind of backed out and went a little bit further back, and it kind of cooled off a little bit on that last lap. But you were able to get back to the lead, which it looked like it was going to be very difficult for you to do that. But great job to you, Brian. You know, looking forward to seeing what the rest of the race holds for you. Who can we shout out after a Stage 1 victory?
Yeah, man, we just need to survive. Hey, shout out to Brandon, heck of a pusher. yeah, he kept me out front that first stage. So shout out to him. Shout out to all my boys at Paradigm and our sponsors, OB Builders, Southern Spiral Pipe, and Ram Welding.
All right, we'll let you get back to it, Brian.
Hey guys.
All righty, that was Brian Johnson, driver of the 4 machine. Glad to be back in, I think he hasn't gotten a stage win in quite a while. Could this be a resurgence for the 4 car? I know that he is he's a really talented driver, probably one of the most talented drivers in this series. Very talented builder as well. Would not be surprised, like he said, that he's been putting a lot of work in on the setups this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do believe a lot of teams are out there this week doing just that, Brian, because, I mean, just because of the overall representation of team members that are in the playoffs, it seems like, you know, you're going to at least try to do what you can for a team championship win.
That's right. That's true. That is something that is a big part as well. It's a big feather in your cap to have that team championship. As there's the green flag, a very good jump there for the 4 of Brian Johnson. He's going to be able to get his teammate Brandon Pasalacqua clear. Pasalacqua jumps up in front of the 76. I did want to mention, you know, that we did have a massive update to iRacing as well, and a lot of these drivers probably went into the testing sessions to see if the cars changed as well. Because, I mean, I know the Xfinity series, the setups changed drastically in the Xfinity car. They did not change as much in the next gen, but I guarantee you a lot of drivers got worried, and a lot of these teams out here got worried and started really making sure their cars were still going to work, as we see a lot of racing going on. Matt DeCiani making some big moves on the inside, being pushed by Abner Acosta. Of course, these guys trying to pounce and make their moves. I'm wondering when Team Conti's going to get all lined up. When will we see Gitter, Heitman, and DeCiani all in the same line? I think that's going to be something we'll see a little bit later. Do mention Kendall LeBron has worked his way all the way up to 8th place. Ooh, big move there. Was there some contact just now? Because I just saw Pasalacqua very close to the 76 as we see Pasalacqua moves up to the top. You don't want to push the pusher at a track like this, and I think that's kind of what's happening right now. I think Heitman may be trying to ruffle the feathers of the 6 right now. As here comes DeCiani, though, massive run to the inside. He's going to take the lead that lap. Some new players, though, up towards the front of the field. Nick King in the 3 machine, that Blake Majulis machine. C. Majulis Shut-Up Shop, of course, that's the team he represents, is also a driver for Warrior Wraps. As we see Brian Johnson get a little bit of contact with the wall, getting a big run, side by side, for the lead 3 wide, as Brian will not be denied. Did you see that move, Big Al? I mean, Matt was trying to block the high side, but Brian said, no, 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 my nose is here, son, and just decided to take the move anyway. And they are contacting, beating, and banging with the wall. Abner Acosta is taking the lead almost uncontested because of that move.
Yeah, but the only place to really go was out front. I mean, right, everything behind you is kind of taken.
This has been a fight for real estate. And it almost seems like it's a war right now between the Paradigm and Team Conti drivers. It's almost like shots have been fired, like the battle lines are being drawn. But I'll tell you what, Abner Acosta's like, I'll take advantage of this, and I'll go up front and race my way to the lead. But here comes Matt. Very good resurgence. I see the Team Conti guys essentially have gotten all lined back up. And they all have found each other. Team Conti now at the front. You can tell Paradigm not wanting to be denied. I mean, already the 4 with Brandon Pasalacqua right behind him, working their way back up to the front. I think this is going to be a Paradigm versus Conti race. I mean, that's just what it seems to be. Team versus team. Because, I mean, this is a team-style racetrack.
Yeah,
there goes Abner back to the bottom. And it looks like Abner finding a friend with Kendall LeBron in that 28. Yeah, I think that's what's going to be important, Big Al. Finding a friend. finding a friend. Dylan Banks, our friend up in the booth that usually hangs out with us, he's now up in the top 10, the 70. He's being pushed right now by Paul Hill into 26. This thing's getting so crazy out here on this racetrack. Now, I do want to mention, I do believe this stage goes to lap 75 to 76. So that will be, we still got quite a while until we see that stage yellow.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What a race we've seen thus far. It sure has been action-packed. Kenny Powell has worked his way up closer to the front as well. I know Kenny did some NIS racing yesterday. Said it was very, very clean up until the final lap. And I think that's when it's going to get crazier. The closer and closer we get to the end of this race, to the end of this stage, it's going to get wilder and wilder. But that's one thing we're talking about Paradigm versus Team Conti, how it's a team sport at racetracks like this. Well, G&G, they have a good amount of numbers. You know, they got Greg Wachinski, they got Kenny Powell, they got Mark Sanchez, JC Evans is back. Why not utilize those numbers, right? And I think that's going to be a big deal later in this race, Big Al, in the third stage when green flag pit stops possibly could be necessary. You know, you're going to want to pit with some friends. That's going to be a big deal. As we see Frank Flores down below the apron. Very wise decision to kind of get out of the way, even though he's going to guarantee to lose the draft here. Dylan Banks, he's worked his way up to now fourth place as he's falling behind the Team Conti drivers. Paul Hill, he's another Team Conti guy. Will he get linked up? He's right now following behind Banks. Will he be able to kind of scoop Banks out and possibly get behind teammate Patrick Gitter? Tire fall off has become another issue once again. It seems like guys are starting to be a little bit slower on this longer run. We are about 15 laps on these tires, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it seems like it is enough to cause these cars to have some sort of handling woes, some sort of maybe tight condition. I think that's what we're going to see the most on the longer runs is the tight condition. Because as you can see, Matt DeCiani, Derek Heitman, Patrick Gitter all moving up to the top of the track. That seems to be the straightest line around this oval to be able to kind of have the most speed. As we're coming up, I do believe now to 21 laps left in the stage. Of course, the fuel window is about, I do believe, 70 laps. So long way. I think it's actually 67 if I'm not mistaken. Long way to go to be able to make it on fuel. So you won't have to really worry about that during this stage. But I think tires are going to be the premium here. I think we're going to see more fall off. And I remember last times we've been at this track in the past, even though it is a super speedway style racing, we have seen that not every car wears the same. Not every car is able to maintain that super speedway style racing forever. It is going to eventually come down to tire conservation, I do believe. But Matt DeCiani right now in control. And look at the lap time change. I mean, the lap times last time by 30.467 from our leader. That is well over half a second off of the original laps these guys were hitting. And I think that is 100%. You could probably attribute that to the lap times.
Looks like Kenny Powell had a little bit of a whoop and a little bit of a tangle with the wall. Sorry, Brian, I was actually having an ATVO issue, which prevented me from even talking.
Yeah, I see that. Kenny Powell still having a little bit of a love connection with the wall. And unfortunately, see Greg Wachinski up there very close to the wall as well. He's up top 3 wide with Jason Maines. So it seems like, a lot of guys, I don't think their cars are handling very well, Big Al. I think the tires are affecting these guys.
I agree with that, but these guys really don't seem to think twice about jumping into a 3-wide condition. So with the minimum amount of traffic practice that they actually had, I think they seem pretty confident down there, or these points are just that valuable. Yeah,
I think that kind of provokes you to have to make bold moves, right? It's like you have to. Do you want to move on to the next round? Well, your performance here will, if you don't perform well at Atlanta or next week at Watkins Glen, you're not moving on to the next round.
Yeah, guarantee you that is true, and a lot of people start to understand that because you literally understand your mortality just by knowing that, man, if we don't win, we're just out there, we're traffic, you know what I mean? We're just extras in the game of ISCA.
That's we're extras in a movie right now. We're not the stars.
That's the true feeling. But glad a lot of these guys do stick around, man. And Abner getting a little wiggly there.
Yeah, Abner trying to push Nick King there in that 3 machine. Tell you what, Nick King's showing a lot of speed here tonight at Atlanta. Loving that. I love how he always throws back to kind of Dale Earnhardt, with that 3. Very awesome little throwback there. Of course, he's got Shea Majulis on the race car, which is, I do believe, his the shop that he drives for on the dirt side. Which is, they are a pretty popular dirt setup shop.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're glad to have him.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to you, Nick. But yeah, you did say that high line was going to be the prevalent line, and Matt DeCiani seems to be leading those guys up there. It's good to see Matt has made it up front. He's out front leading this thing. So, Derek Heitman, Patrick Gitter, these guys have come literally up to their own, like their season now. They're in season.
Yeah, no, Matt has been. He's a good driver. He's a previous season champion. The guy knows what he's doing. That's for sure. One driver I'm surprised, we haven't seen hoisting that championship trophy is Derek Heitman. We know Gitter's won it. We know Matt DeCiani's won it. I think Heitman is like, it's my turn to shine. And he's been shining all season long. Ever since the 76 hit the ground here in the ISCA, ever since he hit the asphalt, he's been one that has been impressing every single week. And I think this could be his year, too.
So, I'm a little curious as to why the Paradigm guys are nesting within the midst of the field. That's a very risky place to be, Brian, especially with playoff talks in the air. This is playoff season. I don't know if I would risk it or not. I would definitely be trying to find myself either to the front of this thing or to the rear, but just in the middle, I don't know. I'm getting a little eerie feeling.
Looks like Derek Jacobs coming to pit road. That's a really good question, Big Al. Very good point to raise. I'm not sure why Brian and all those guys are not in the top 10 right now. I think that maybe they're being cautious, or is there something wrong with the race cars? Is there something on the longer run those cars maybe not handling as well? Maybe they're taking some notes, making some adjustments, getting things worked out, communicating, seeing, okay, what's the car feeling like? What can we do to change it? Brian Johnson, always that guy that will adjust on the race car and also relay adjustments to the other drivers. See some contact with the wall there. I do believe that was Randy Miller. But I think that could be what it is. I think they could be struggling. Could there? Or is this by choice? Do they not want to be in the, mix of possible crash? But I feel like things have kind of relatively calmed down towards the front. I do believe for the most part in this top 5 or so it's calmed down.
It's getting ready to get heated up. We're within 10 of the stage, you know, and if these stage points and wins mean anything, there should be a awakening from the back of the pack. There should be some guys that should be charging to try to get up here and ring the bell. I don't see how anybody's going to make anything by saying, "Here we go, let's shake it up a little bit."
But I think also the handling for these cars has gone away to where they can't really shake it up as much as they'd like. But Abner is that guy that can always save tires.
It's time to
He's got
work
right now Jason Maines. He's got Jason Maines right behind him. And look at the runs that Abner's generating right now.
And Jason Maines is a seasoned driver. I mean, this guy's been out here longer than Christ, you know, and me and you together. So he knows what he's doing. Abner's just got to keep his foot in it this time. Last time he backed out of it. Definitely, if he wins this thing, I'd love to get the opportunity to ask him, man, why so shy?
I think he's getting a little bit more confident as he goes on.
We're about to find ourselves in a 3-wide condition here. That's what I'm feeling.
Well, I think you're right. I think we're getting ready to see possibly some more big moves happening here. Could see some big wrecks, too, though. I mean, we saw, of course, towards the end of Stage 1, an accident. Could we see one here as well?
Well, they just seem a lot more passive at the end of this stage than they were the first stage. Not sure what's up with that, but 5 to go here. Hoping somebody's going to shake this stuff up like dice, and we'll get to be able to see that 3-wide racing that we now you guys got us wanting it.
Yeah, I mean, they gave us a little bit of a taste, and now, you know, they've kind of calmed back down. But I got to say, I think it's got something to do with the tires. I think that these guys are struggling when it comes to tire wear. They're not able to make the runs go as quickly as they, you know, a lot of people don't realize that these guys are probably having to lift a little bit going into the corner to avoid the car from stepping out on them. I mean, I know that in the Xfinity car, we were having to do that, and I think this next gen is the same way. But we'll see. I mean, even lap times. I mean, if you look at lap times, these guys are falling off quite a considerable amount compared to what you would think at a super speedway. Super speedways you usually don't see fall off, but that's what's happening here at Atlanta. That's what's so interesting about this racetrack. It's a hybrid, so you really sometimes don't know what to expect.
All right, Jason Maine, Nick King, and Abner Acosta starting to wake this thing up on the bottom line, trying to get it together. Looks like Jason had a little bit of a wiggle there, but he's got it back together now. He's trying to get back up to the bumper of Abner. He has got to push him if they want any chance whatsoever to get this thing, you know, at least on the podium or in, you know, stage winner circle.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. Abner seems like he's got some speed there on that bottom side. Jason, you know, doing a really great job getting to the back bumper. Of course, the shortest distance around the racetrack is that bottom. So if they're able to really make some speed up on the bottom, they can make something happen. And the straightaways at Atlanta are not as long as at Daytona and stuff like that. A lot of times at top line, at Daytona, you're able to use the straightaways to really pull away a little bit or get massive runs. But you're not going to be able to do that quite as much at Atlanta.
The biggest problem they got is they got lap traffic. They got lap traffic that's going to be in front of them. That's going to be something they're going to be wanting to keep their eye on, even though we're 2 to go.
Yeah, things are getting wild. Oh, Greg Wyszynski almost tags Jason Maines. I'm shocked we didn't just have a caution just now, as it is getting wild and crazy.
Race to the line.
As the white flag is out for stage number 2. Who is going to get it done here? A big send for the 3 of Nick King to the inside. And I do believe Matt DeCiani going to get the stage 2 dub.
Wyszynski and Maines, definite contact between those 2 drivers.
And Matt DeCiani, your stage 2 winner. Derek Heitman in second. Patrick Gitter third. Dylan Banks fourth. Paul Hill fifth. Nick King sixth. Abner Acosta seventh. Greg Wyszynski eighth. Randy Drumhiller ninth. Actually, I do believe Jason Maines ninth. Randy Drumhiller in 10th. And with that, we'll take a brief step away. We'll come back and we'll talk to whoever Big Al wants to talk to.
You
went, you served, and forged the relationships that only being baptized in the fire of combat can develop. At FallInVeteran.com, we understand the unique bond that veterans share. That's why we've created a platform where you can connect, share experiences, and build lifelong friendships with fellow veterans. Signing up is easy. Simply visit www.fall-in-veteran.com and create your profile. Customize it to reflect your military service, interests, and hobbies. FallInVeteran.com is more than just an online community. It's a support network where you can find resources, advice, and encouragement from those who understand what you've been through. Whether you're looking for camaraderie, mentorship, or simply a place to share your stories, FallInVeteran.com has it all. Join thousands of veterans who have already found their tribe and start connecting today. FallInVeteran.com. Come join us and experience the power of community. Sign up now at www.fall-in-veteran.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series. We just completed stage number 2. Matt DeCiani was your stage 2 winner. I'm going to give it over to Big Al. Big Al, who are we talking to?
Let's go ahead and bring Matt up.
Okay, I mean, you usually get mad at me if I elect who you're going to talk to. But here we go. Big Al, you got the floor. Matt DeCiani's here.
Hey, Matt DeCiani, Big Al, the booth, you got me.
Yeah, I got you, Big Al.
Hey, first off, congratulations to that stage 1 win, man. I got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, how's the tire wear working down there for you guys? Are you guys seeing a whole lot of fall off? How's that car handling?
It's all right. It gets a little sketchy later in the run, but I mean, the tire wear isn't a ton, but it does get hot and it does get a little sketchy.
This being the longest stage of the race right here, you guys more set up for the long run, I mean, how are we feeling?
I think we'll be all right as long as we got our teammates together. I think we'll be pretty strong this whole stage. Just try to stay out of the mess if and when it happens.
Yeah, so you guys can we look forward to seeing you guys running more up front, mid pack, or are you gonna be hanging out in the back? I'm just wondering where we're gonna put the cameras.
I mean, we're going to try to stay up front as long as we can. If we get shuffled and we feel like it's a wreck waiting to happen, we may drop to the back, but the plan is to stay up front.
Yeah, short week for you guys, not as many open races to practice on, so not a lot of draft time to get in or traffic time. How'd you guys work through that?
Didn't practice at all. We literally loaded up before the session, and we're running what we brought, so... seems pretty strong, so hopefully it holds up here in stage 3.
Roger, run what you brung. Hey, who you shouting out here for your stage 2 victory?
Yeah, thanks for you guys for calling the race. Team Conti, Kenny for putting on the league.
Hey, appreciate you, boss. Good luck. Hopefully we'll see at the end of this thing.
Sounds good, thank you.
Alrighty, that was Matt DeCiani, driver of the one machine. He, of course, is going to restart as the leader once again, was able to win the race off pit road. Team Conti pretty well all together at the moment. We see Matt DeCiani, Derek Hyman, Patrick Gitter, Dylan Banks, Paul Hill. Now, Banks is a EPI driver, but he, I do believe right now, is working with the Team Conti drivers. I see they're on the same channel, and that is helpful to have as many friends as you possibly can have. So, wouldn't be surprised. Reach out to some independent drivers to kind of, find some buddies, because this is a track that it benefits you. It rewards you to have friends here as the base car gets ready to dip down pit road.
You cannot do this by yourself. Not here, not this week.
But here we go, pace car down pit road as Matt DeCiani going to enter the Geico restart zone. And there it is. Green flag is out. DeCiani waits to the absolute possible last second to get going. He jumps up in front of Derek Heitman as they get ready to enter turn 1, and it looks like Gitter's going to file in right behind Heitman as well, up in front of Banks. Now, what will Paul Hill do? How will he get in line?
Well, the question I'm wondering, too, is how everyone else is going to get in line, because of track position is what you're looking for. Guys should be trying to get up to the front. I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable hanging out in the middle lane.
I'll tell you what, that was a little bit of a scary situation there. Paul Hill got up in front of Dylan Banks. Banks, I think, was dragging the brake in front of Abner Acosta and Brian Johnson. And those guys I don't think appreciated it very much because Dylan clearly was trying to let Paul in line, and it slowed down the guys behind Dylan, and I just think they did not want that to happen. So we almost had an accident there, but somehow they were able to keep it straight. Of course, Nick King leading that bottom line. He's been leading or up towards the front quite a lot here tonight. Got to say, I'm very impressed with the 3 machine. Kenny Powell, he's, of course, in that 8th place position. He is now up in the top 10. He's going to be hoping his race can go well here tonight.
Yeah, Kenny definitely needs a different shirt of luck because the pants and shirt combination he's been wearing has not been pairing. So hopefully he can kind of get it tidied up, man, because he definitely needs to have a solid run here. As a matter of fact, everybody does. Jason.
Well, I mean, this is when you need it. I mean, I think Kenny, in a lot of ways, he probably would agree with me. He barely made it into the playoffs when it comes to his performances. I mean, of course, I think points-wise he was okay, but I mean, just like, I think he wants to perform better than this, and it probably is discouraging. But I feel like when it comes to these playoffs, it's time to change our destiny, reshuffle the deck. Do not let what the regular season, what happened there, hold me back from having a resurgence, right?
Yeah, but as we're halfway through this thing, the first thing he needs to do is change his verbiage because they made the playoffs. So forget the regular season. It's done anyway. You got to have a playoff mentality because you got to be thinking like a champion here. Because if not, you're just going to be out there holding up traffic, and nobody needs that at this stage in the game. Nick King and Jason Maines, though, these guys are hooked up, and it seems that they're definitely going to be the team. They're hogging that bottom line together. I'm just hoping they can kind of find some speed down there as the G&G guys have definitely started to snuggle up with them as well.
And that's the thing these guys are going to have to do. I mean, right now we're seeing a monopoly forming when it comes to control of the race, and that is the Conti guys. They are in control at the moment. Now, what you have to do is, if you're in Abner Acosta's shoes, if you're in Nick King's shoes, if you're in Kenny Powell's shoes, work with guys you usually don't work with. You're going to have to make alliances that you usually don't make because that's the only way you're going to be able to win this race. You're going to have to maybe jump in a Discord channel and say, hey, guys, let's work together. Let's do something.
Yep. Now that Abner's actually jumped down and joined the fray, that bottom line definitely seems to be picking up a little bit of speed. I don't know, Brian. I think they need one more car down for sure. Jason Maine's got a little bit of gappage there. Might be wanting that thing to cool down a little bit.
And that's one thing we did hear from DeCiani. He kind of gave us a little bit of some insights into what the cars are doing. He said that their car on the longer run was starting to get really sketchy, and I don't think that was just them. I think everybody was starting to get sketchy on the long run. But one thing I thought it was interesting was the temperature. They did say that, hey, we're getting hot. Our tires are getting hot. Our engine's getting hot. Everything's getting hot. So that's going to make it harder and harder to push. And I think that's what this bottom line is having struggles with. They're gonna need more drivers to kind of bear the weight that those engines are taking.
Yeah, I don't think the cars are sketchy. I think the drivers are sketchy. There's some sketchy, shady characters down there.
I agree. But here we are on lap 89, coming to lap 90. We still have quite a ways to go here. Oh, a little bit of contact with the wall there. Brian Johnson.
Dylan Banks kind of left in the middle there. That's what really pushed Brian and Brandon up on that top line.
No problems. And we almost just had a wreck.
That's a big
Somehow we got through it. We're almost 4 wide at the moment. As I do believe Abner Acosta had some issues, possibly with Jason Maine.
There's a lot of smoke.
No, Nick King, I'm sorry. A lot of smoke right there as you see King all over the rear end of the 55 and just a bad bump in the corner. This is a scary place to be bumping someone in the corner. And you see Kenny comes up, was able to get on the brakes to avoid hitting the 55. But this has caused an absolute terrifying ordeal. But it also has caused the top 5 to drive away. top 4, I should say. Matt DeCiani, Derek Heitman, Patrick Gitter, Paul Hill, they gone. They gone. They are gone right now. They are in another zip code. And this is, I'd say, almost the perfect scenario. If we do not see a caution flag,
Well,
this will give them a huge advantage. Because
yeah.
the thing is, Big Al, this is less variables. This is 4 cars all working together, not fighting each other.
Well, there's a caution. Caution not out, but we definitely spinning some tires back here, Brian. And I'm going to tell you, the one thing that is going to pull those guys back is going to be a caution, because although one would assume that everybody would get spread out, but these are the times that's going to try these souls. They're going to try those souls of those good years, and whether you're saving, whether you're hammering down, I mean, you got your hands full down there.
Oh, Mark Sanchez, this is going to be the caution. Sanchez hard into the outside wall. As well as we see Kendall LeVron in the middle. As LeVron, I do believe, tangles with Randy Drumhiller a little bit there.
Chris Johnson's the only one I see with the meatball fly.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because it seemed like Drumhiller might have came up a little bit and Kenny Powell or Kendall LeVron came down. I think they met in the middle, and that sent Kendall up the track into Mark. Because you see they're 3 wide middle, and you see Randy Drumhiller comes up just a hair to touch the 28, sends him up into Mark Sanchez, and unfortunately that was all she wrote right after that, and that's unfortunate. I wonder if we can maybe look at Randy a little bit better. Did he come up? I don't want to say anything that's false, so let's see. Did Randy come up if we can? I just want to see because it looked like he did. He was on the bottom, 3 wide. Here we go. Let's see, get to the bottom of it because I don't want to say Randy was the true cause of this accident. It could have been just I think they might have met in the middle here, but you see Randy is on the bottom. No, yeah, clearly Kendall came down. Kendall clearly came down. So that's why I'm glad we went back and looked at it, because I'm sure I would have got a message from Randy Drumhiller. But, yeah, Kendall came down into Randy. That's unfortunate.
Looks like he sneezed. Just enough to lose that. Just enough to put that car in a bad situation, man. And the bad thing, too, that compounds this is these guys were actually further back in the back of the pack. So that lead breakaway, I mean, they were gone, and there was a second breakaway as well.
Interesting decision here from J.C. Evans, taking no tires, just fuel only, 6.7 seconds in the box. And when they go back to that crash, I mean, it's 3 wide at Atlanta. There's not a lot of room for 3 wide, especially where they were on the track. So, I mean, it's just, like you said, if you sneeze the wrong way while you're 3 wide, there's a wreck. And that's exactly what I think we just saw. And as well, I think a lot of these guys were in desperate scenario or mindsets. Considering the top 4 was gone, and now it's like, okay, it's a race for 5th, right? And I feel like they were just probably in an intense mindset. But this, of course, brings them all back together. And as I mentioned, J.C. Evans, we have not seen him back in action in quite some time here in the ISCA. He's now in the lead of this race. What will those tires look like? This is going to be a telltale sign, Big Al, when it comes to what the tires, how much do they mean?
Well, obviously they meant a lot to some drivers, but it was 16 laps. That's going to be the divot. I mean, so is 16 laps enough to warrant a whole new set of tires? I just don't think we're done wrecking yet, but maybe these guys know something that I don't. So I think
and this could be
extend their runs.
And this could be a good play for some track position. I mean, if you're right and we get a caution really quickly, and he's closer to the front of the field and doesn't get involved in the crash, this is a genius play. But it just really depends on how this race goes. If it stays green till the rest of the race, it's going to be a very long race for J.C. Evans to the end of this thing.
Well, it's also going to depend on how fast is J.C. because if you're not fast enough to run up here with these guys, that's probably why you have it. But I think JC's actually been one of the faster cars on this track. So
No, he's fast enough.
Yeah,
I don't think it's got anything to do. I think his speed is there. I think he's got the speed to run up here. But his tires might not allow him to have that speed. I'm saying if he had fresh tires and he was right where he's at now, I think it would be fine. I think he'd be fine. But I just wonder what that amount of tire deficit would look like. Well, let's take a look. We're going to find out. Green flag is back out here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. J.C. Evans up through the gears, now being pushed by Derek Heitman. Heitman jumps up in front. Yeah, that was a quick decision as here comes Brian Johnson.
Now Brian came with a head of steam. He gave a solid bump to the 9. He's going to definitely stay low as he's got most of his Paradigm brothers with him. Worst case scenario, they get the 9 out the way and then they pull to the front. Best case scenario, they push the 9 to the front.
That's the best case scenario for the 9. That's for sure. But I don't know. I mean, it just seems like the 9 did not fire off as good as everybody else. And I think that might have something to do with the tire here. I mean, even looking at the last lap. Last lap, he was not very quick. As you can see, the Conti guys already kind of making a big move. If Brian has room to jump up in front of Banks, does he do it? Or is he's probably going to try to stick with his Paradigm teammates?
Absolutely. Paradigm's going to stay on the bottom line. That's where they're at. And now we're just wondering, JC still got the pace, so hopefully they can get him back up front as they're slowly.
Here he goes. He's getting a run. They're starting to get a run on the bottom. So, yeah, it seems like JC, his tires are not hurting him as bad as I kind of thought.
Yeah,
but they will later. I think they will later.
Yeah, 16 laps, that's not a lot. But once he gets those Goodyears back up to operating temp, he's going to be just as good as everybody else.
I think he will for a time, but I think eventually he will be worse. Because I mean, we saw it on that stage 2 run. That was the longest run we saw of the race, and at the end of that stage, guys were struggling. And what do? We still have over 60 laps left to go.
Yeah, and we're going to have another. I mean, we're due at least 2 more cautions. And the reason why I say that is, I mean, the caution was not created at the front of this pack. We're doing 2 and 3 wide all over the place, so we just got to keep our eyes on it and see where it's actually going to start to manifest.
I do want to mention that we have had a little bit of a separate pack that has kind of formed 18th on back. Paul Olson is leading that pack, so it's about 2.6 seconds back here. As well as you see Chris Johnson's in it. I think these might be damaged race cars because you can tell they're off the pace compared to the rest of the field.
Something else that I noticed? We actually have enough fuel to make it to the end of this thing.
That's what I'm saying. So this could go green. If we stayed green to the end here, that's why I feel like JC would be having a tough time. Like he's going to have a tough time with 60-something laps. More than 60. He's going to have like 80-something laps on his tires. That's a lot. I mean, I'm wondering that he's going to definitely be putting a lot of. But I mean, look at that. They're battling side by side for the lead. So JC has clearly got the pace with Paul Hill, or Brian Johnson behind him pushing him.
He does right now, but lap after lap, that pace from him is going to go down a lot faster than it is for the drivers that are around him. So the question is just how long are those Paradigm guys going to stick with him?
I think one thing that will help him as well is clean air. If he can just keep in clean air, his tires won't be as noticeable. Because that's something you notice in these next gens is whenever you see a driver out front in clean air, it doesn't seem like his tires are as worn out as they are. Once he gets in dirty air, that's when it'll really be noticeable.
Something else that was noticeable, big whoops went through that entire field right there, is I do believe there's a checkup between the 6 and the 54, which actually echoed back to Bender as well.
John Bender having a really stellar night tonight, up to 11th place right now. Definitely a fantastic run for the Sun Drop Machine. Really good run for the G&G pair of Greg Wychinski and Kenny Powell. They've been running up in the top 10 quite a bit tonight.
Yeah, they're going to want to stay in the top 10. Evans seems to be starting to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, you see lap times not as quick. That laps. I think he was actually the slowest car in this field, or not in this field, in this pack, specific pack.
Yeah, you can definitely start to see how much he's actually slowing this bottom line down now. So it's just a matter of time before I think they unhook the rest of the carts from that train.
Yeah, for sure.
More of a caboose.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to see if they can't cycle him out eventually. And I think just right now they haven't seen an opportunity to do it quite yet. Because I mean, we know the Paradigm guys, when they link up, they're going to be able to make something happen here. And I just think it's just really difficult to pass at this place. I mean, they're going to have to put themselves at some risk to pass him. And I think that's why they're a little worried. Because they don't know if they try to pass JC, will he realize what's going on? Will he endanger them? You know, I think that's what the worry is.
He's got Brian behind him, so it won't take him long to figure it out. But that right there you can take to the bank, and I think they're about making their decision. I think their decision's already been made.
Yeah, I don't know what that decision is going to be. I mean, they're gonna definitely get him out. Oh, a little bit of a bump to the rear end in the quad oval. That got him a little bit out of sorts there. And you can see, of course, almost like an accordion, the way things that happen in this pack, just almost like an avalanche, a snowball effect, if you will, where it starts out small and then as it goes and reverberates through the pack.
And J.C. Evans he is not a part of Paradigm, but the only other cars down there with him are Paradigm drivers. So I think except for Bender towards the back, but I think Paradigm is definitely showing where they think the cars are going to be fastest for them. I'm surprised at the breakaway though, Brian. It's a pretty big gap between the first and second packs.
And like I said, I think that's got something to do with the damaged cars. I don't think that's I think that's just damaged cars. I think those, and because I know Abner was fast enough earlier to be with this pack, and so I don't know, or is this a voluntary decision to kind of just stay out of this group?
But if it's damaged cars, I think we're going to send some more back there with them.
So those guys did not take tires on their last stop. They spent, I do believe, time enough just to get fuel. So it might not, if they had damaged cars, they would have spent more time in the box fixing them. So I don't know. I don't think that is damage. I think those guys are purposely back there. I think that they think that there's going to be some sort of explosion towards the front of the field. Now, Paul Olson down pit road. Now, I don't know if he might actually have a damaged car. But I feel like Abner, Jason Maines, I think those guys, Mark definitely has damage. Now, I should say Mark Sanchez definitely does have damage. I know he does. But guys like Abner, Paul Whitney, we haven't even talked about him tonight, Chris Johnson, Jason Maines, I don't know if they have damage. I don't know. They might be playing it safe, hoping that an explosion happens up towards the front of the field.
Yeah, but if Johnson was actually healthy, he'd be up here with the Paradigm guys. There'd be no reason for him to actually lay back.
And that's true. That's definitely true. But I know 4 cars is enough to make speed around this place. That's why I'm saying. So, there could be damage. But, I feel like if they would have spent more time fixing the car under caution when we had that caution.
Isn't it funny that although JC is being pushed, that time he actually had one of the faster laps. But other than that, he was actually the slowest.
Yeah, it is interesting. But I think a lot of... big run now. I think it's got a lot to do as well with the heat, the temperature of Brian Johnson's engine as well. I think a lot of, these surges ahead that we're seeing from JC are happening because Brian, his temperature in his engine has gone down, so he's willing to push a little harder, right? Because, a lot of, it's just like Daytona. really are not going to be trying to push as hard when you're in the red. You're going to be like, okay, I need to cool my engine down. And I feel like that's where we see these surges of speed on the bottom line. I mean, it's definitely showing that JC's car is capable of speed. It doesn't seem like the tires are really, really hurting him that bad. As you know, I think eventually we will see it affect them more often. But I also think that maybe those guys on top are not driving it as hard. Maybe Derek has to back off because his engine is getting a little hot too. Running around the higher part of the track, usually when you're pushing on the top, your engine is even worse than if you're on the bottom when it comes to the heat.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sit right here in this chair, and I'm just gonna watch these cars go around because they're gonna all have to make decisions once they come up on this slower lap traffic, and they've got 2 bundles that they're gonna have to deal with before this thing is over. So that right.
Well, how about this? Let's both sit here and watch this. Let's let this audience sit here as well. Let's do a little bit of a segment of our very own kind of a turn it up in a way, and let's listen to these race cars.
Yeah, crank it up. Into the middle.
Whenever you want to come back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and of course that was an awesome segment to be able to listen to these race cars go around this racetrack at full bore. We just saw J.C. Evans. He finally got cycled out. Now Brian Johnson, leader of the bottom line. Of course, now Paradigm versus Conti kind of resumes from what we saw earlier. We, of course, see Matt DeCiani, Derek Heitman, Patrick Gitter, Paul Hill, all in a line there on the top side. And, of course, we see on the bottom Brian Johnson, Braden Pasalaco, Randy Mullins, and Josh Schaffner all in the line. So 4 versus 4 in a lot of ways here, Big Al.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think once the bottom line, JC got, good on you, bud. But once JC got out of the way, they really kind of got to work. I do believe this is what this Paradigm guys have been waiting for. Now, we haven't talked to one of them yet as far as what their practice strategy looked like. Conti guy said they just rolled in, loaded up, rolled in, and just went for it. Which is contrary to what we were talking about.
Well, I mean, the Paradigm guys, Brian said something different. He said that they worked on it a lot. Like, they said that, they put a lot of work in, and it looks like, there it is. Look, a surge to the lead there quickly.
Yep, but they left Mr. Schaffner down. He wasn't quite able to get around the one of Matt DeCiani. So he's hoping that Bender will stay with him enough to push him, but Bender already knows where Schaffner's heart lies.
That's a really interesting development. I'm wondering what just happened. Oh, a hit there on the rear end. Problems from Gitter. This could be the accident.
Drumhiller goes down.
No caution.
He kept it pointed the right direction. He got bumped down below that solid red line, but he held on to it. Brian kept it pointed in the right direction, and we're still under green flag conditions.
Kenny Powell's slow on the bottom here. Clearly, so that's even though we're under green, it still has had big consequences. We're taking a look back here. We're going to look through Kenny Powell's eyes. And, of course, this is just that domino effect, the butterfly effect, if you will. As you can see, Right there, I do believe that is Patrick Gitter going down the track into Randy Drumhiller. Kenny Powell gets into, I do believe, Dylan Banks right here. Banks corrects it, goes up the racetrack, and unfortunately, Kenny Powell, nothing he can do here. This is going to be some pretty good damage on his front end, as you can see that. You can almost see the slow-mo of that damage on the front end, kind of the hood popping up. That was really, really cool. I mean, not for Kenny. I hate that, Kenny. I'm sorry. But that was really cool to see kind of the slow-mo damage.
Well, the good news is no actual required repairs, so Kenny's still going to be able to run. The bad news is you kind of need a whole car to run here at this new Atlanta Super Speedway.
Yeah, I mean, it messed up his aero. If you look at it, the front of his race car, aero is messed up pretty bad on that 24. And that's, you know, and also he's by himself, which is even worse.
And another thing, what the field has done now, they're just all kind of, you know, scattered. So much for all the excitement of running in the lap traffic. We're single file up here, guys. This is pretty boring.
Well, I mean, and that's the crazy thing is, like, even though that could have easily been a caution, I'm shocked it wasn't a caution. But because it wasn't, it has just thinned the herd. And the more this herd is thinned, the more opportunity I'd say for green flag racing. Because, I mean, you know, if that just thins us out to where there's not going to be as much intensity. But I'll tell you that accident kind of did help out Abner Acosta, Paul Whitney, Jason Maines. They're now up to 13th. So kind of helped them out a little bit here as the Paradigm drivers kind of in control.
Well, one thing is Nick King and his boys have mounted the posse up, and they're rolling back towards the front, not even going to take any chances with Schaffner. I think he left them off the ground once, so they kind of got their eye on where they want to be, and it's going to be too late here for Paradigm to actually try to counter it. So just like that high line has reemerged, reconstituted itself, and they're back in the headlines.
Yeah, and even though Patrick Gitter was sideways under that, you know, that accident that just happened, that was kind of what kicked it off. He is still in this pack. I mean, he's right there on the back end of Paul Hill at the moment.
Gitter got a little sideways.
He definitely did. I mean, and it just seems like those Conti guys have had handling issues on the longer run, and I don't know if that was just a bad bump. But Big Al, that goes to show you. Now, I'm not talking bad about Team Conti setups. I feel like those guys do really well every week. They bring really, 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 really good setups. But I feel like the issue is, Matt even said it, we did not practice. We did not turn any laps. That, I think, is exactly why we saw that sideways thing happen. It's because these guys are pushing each other at bad spots on the racetrack because they have not practiced. They don't know what the car will do in certain situations.
Yeah, interesting move from Nick King, though, as he jumped down in front of Brian Johnson. Didn't see that happening, so I kind of figured he would stay up front with the guys that brought him along, but he instead tries to go down and lead the Paradigm guys, so we'll see how that works out for him.
And we got some more lamp traffic coming up. I do believe that is the 56 of Chris Johnson there. This is going to be a little bit of a scary scenario, especially catching these guys on the front stretch. This is where I would never want to catch someone on the front stretch, but it looks like they're going to be able to navigate by the 56 here.
Woohoo!
As Nick King, though, in control of the race. Could this be possibly the first victory for the 3 machine? He's got a good handling race car, too. I mean, the car's handling good on the longer run. He's been able to run the bottom really good.
Why do you do that? Why do you always, when it's like 30 or 40 laps ago, you're always like, man, Nick King, he's going to win this thing. No, he's not. He's got a long way to go.
I never said he was going to. I said he could.
You just jinxed him, man.
How was that jinxing him? I said he could.
Because every time
I didn't say he will.
Okay,
there's a difference between could and will.
Well, I understand the English language and how it's utilized, but I'm just simply saying that every time you say that, every time you speak it, it just like falls apart.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Big Al.
It's like a football helmet made out of paper.
I'm sorry, Nick. If you lose this race, it's all my fault.
Yeah.
But I will say he is doing a fantastic job here tonight. Probably the best running we've seen the 3 machine.
Well, man, I'm just looking at what he's got behind him, and it doesn't appear that he came with a busload of people, but he's got a whole truckload of dudes behind him that got here together. So no matter what, that's just going to be a very interesting play for him because these guys they're rolling, Brian.
I mean, and I don't think he's got a single teammate behind him. I mean, it doesn't seem like you said, he didn't bring really any good friends to drive with him here tonight. But either way, he's found his way up to the front of the field. I mean, a lot of times when you're not on the same team with other guys and they somehow end up pushing you, that's because they know your car's fast and you're a good guy to push.
Well,
that's a good sign. That's a good sign.
He's going to have to play like a blind man at an orgy. He's just going to have to feel his way around this place.
Wow. We're just going to scoot right on past that one. But here we go. Now under 30 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The first race of the playoffs is underway. Who's going to be the first driver to lock themselves in to the round of 12? I'm definitely curious to find out who's going to get a good points day. Who's going to set themselves up momentum-wise for the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. A lot to unfold. 25 laps can be left in this thing at the line. A lot of cars in that lead pack don't have yellow banners on them. Are these guys still going to stay out front, do what they're doing? Where are all of the cars with the yellow banners? That's going to be a lot to unpack here. It's going to be a long night because, I mean, these are the playoffs. So every single position is going to matter, Brian, and it's going to have some serious consequences attached to it.
100%. I mean, whoever wins this race, I mean, or the results of this race at all is going to just absolutely change the game. One thing we got to talk about, though, Big Al, I guess we just have been neglecting it. Abner Acosta and company, those guys were how far back? They have caught this pack. They were 2 packs. Now they're 1. And I think they were like 10 seconds back. Am I wrong?
No, but they still got to get
They were like a mile back. And they somehow worked together to draft back up to this pack. Wasn't Randy Drumhiller involved in that crash and he's back in this pack?
Yeah, but
what a magnificent thing to see.
Yeah, but that lead pack, though, their lap times had been way off what they had been. So the guys in the rear just kept doing what they were doing. Now that they're up here, it's going to be interesting to see how this thing congeals.
It has really reignited the intensity. I mean, we thought it was kind of cooled back down, but everybody has kind of converged. Gravity has brought all these guys back together.
It's like a family reunion up here, Brian.
I think there's going to be some fists thrown here at this family reunion. This is not a good kind of family reunion.
It's like a family reunion here, Brian.
Our producer says it's an Australian family reunion.
That's
apparently they throw fists.
Reunion. This will be thrown. Somebody's going to lose a sister.
Oh, no. But Nick King, he is the Pied Piper in that 3 machine. I mean, what an appropriate race car to be leading at this super speedway style racetrack. As he's in that Majula race car fashioned after the late, great Dale Earnhardt.
How old were you when Dale died?
He died in 2001. I was 10. No, yeah, 10. I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Because I was born in 91.
I'm just going to shut the hell up.
I mean, I'm sure you were like, what, 30 or something?
Man, Brian, really? Yeah, I was.
I don't know. Were you really? I got it.
Yeah.
How about that? I was exaggerating.
I mean, not too far off.
I'm sorry, Big Al. That was mean and hurtful. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I don't care, man. I mean, I remember where I was at the day Dale died.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember where I was for the other event that happened in 2001.
And I'm just gonna say, I mean, well, no, I'm not gonna say anything. Wow, look at these guys go around.
But here we go, closing in. Less than 20 laps to go, and Nick King out front here at Atlanta.
So when do you
Matt
imagine? Sorry, when do you imagine we're gonna start kicking this thing up into 3 wide?
I don't know, dude. I feel like tire wear's got to be insane right now. I mean, these guys are a second off of their original laps. But I mean, then again, I mean, I think that these guys, they're still 2 by 2. I think we're going to see 3 wide. Jason Maines might be the one that initiates it. Here he goes. Jason Maines up top, 3 wide.
That's it. The one thing these guys aren't is scared.
That's right. Patrick Gitter, he decides to go with them. Got to keep in mind, Patrick Gitter is the reigning champion currently. He's going to want to try to get that championship. He wants to go back-to-back.
Yeah, it looks like he's riding the pole up there on that highline sign. It's definitely not
So close to the wall right now.
Yeah, it's not domesticated. Whatever he's on, it's wild, and he is having a wild ride indeed. So this 3 wide is going to happen, but it is not going to be pretty.
Woo, they are packed in like sardines. Paul Hill very tight in the middle. This is looking terrifying right now.
Yeah,
Patrick Gitter, though, able to get clear.
Yeah, he thinks better about it and comes back on the inside, but that still leaves Maines and Acosta out there. They got also Randy Mullins coming with them as well.
But look at Jason go.
Ooh, Gitter gets
Paul
left
Hill.
up.
Paul Hill's kind of getting left out to dry a lot.
Yeah, those Paradigm, well, look, not the Paradigm guys, but the Conti guys looked like they were actually blocking.
This is looking like this could go very poorly here in a moment's notice.
That really hampered Jason Maine's progression. I mean, he was running solid. Gitter actually decided well, I don't know if he was trying to decide what lane he was going to go in or not.
Brian Johnson, though, now in control. He's got Brandon Ponsalacqua on the rear end. Josh Schaffner is in third. So Paradigm 1, 2, 3 right now. And look who's in fourth. John Binder. Or Bender. How about it? Sundrop machine.
We got big problems back here in the back that are this is a storm of brewing. And there it is, just like that. Patrick Gitter sideways up into the wall, riding the rail. Green flag racing continues.
Yeah, even with these issues, these handling woes, it seems like the caution is very rare here at this track. As I do believe we've only had 2 for cause, if I'm not mistaken. Patrick Gitter well off the pace. He has lost the draft, and I gotta say, I just feel like Patrick's car is not handling as well as he probably would like it to. But here comes Ponsalacqua. He takes the lead from Brian Johnson.
Yeah, with 13 laps to go, you're going to see a lot more lead changes here as these guys are starting to fan out. 3 wide is getting ready to happen. Lead packs trying to establish a breakaway, led by Brandon Ponsalacqua. Teammate Josh Schaffner and Brian Johnson right behind him. Bottom line is definitely trying to get reconstituted and make a march to go up front. Brian, this is getting ready to get excited.
Yeah, no, I think it's been exciting all race. Been loving every bit of it, that's for sure. John Binder, I want to see him, or Bender, I want to see Bender make something happen here. I mean, wouldn't it be something to see him up in the top 3 as he's being pushed by Paul Hill right now? We of course see Paul Whitney. I don't think we've seen him in this series before. The 74. He's up in the top 10. He's sitting 8th right now. So there's a lot of exciting things happening down here on this racetrack with now 10 laps to go next time by.
That bottom line is definitely going to have to do something. They need some sort of a spark right now. They're just stagnant, so it's not going as well as it needs to. Not sure what's happening there as Bender starts to crank that pony up. Bender, beat that horse.
I think he just needs help. He needs Paul Hill to push him. He needs some sort of pushing. But I got to say, I think these cars are so on edge, I think it's really difficult to push right now. I mean, look at the speeds are way off of what we saw earlier, as I mentioned. I mean, tire wear is a big deal here. And so Paul finally able to get to the rear end to give a bump to John.
It's time to beat the ponies. I mean, it's go time if there ever has been in this race having true playoff contentions, man. This is it.
And we do want to. I want to remind everyone, Brandon Pasalacqua, last week at Darlington Raceway was an absolute rocket. Guy knew exactly what he was doing at the track. Too tough to tame. Was able to take care of business, and now he turns around and he's at Atlanta, and right now he's in control of this field. He's in control of this parade around Atlanta Motor Speedway. Could he go back to back?
Did it again.
The stories. I'm telling you, there's just so many storylines, Big Al, here that could unfold.
You just took the race away from Brandon.
Whatever, man. Like, yeah, I just took the, Nick King lost the lead because I said something. That's, 100%. I'm calling the race, Big Al. I'm having fun. I don't care what you say.
You go, Brandon.
It has been an exciting race.
DeShionda got a little loose and squirrely back there. That just goes to show, man, we are still not out of the fray yet. 7 laps to go. Still could be anybody's race. Derek Heitman having a little bit of problems. He is off the bump with the teammate Matt DeShionda. Brandon Pasalacqua leading this thing. He's got the cornman Josh Schaffner tucked in behind him, and also Paradigm teammate Brian Johnson, as those are the top 3 leading the show. Mr. Bender down on the bottom, trying to do everything he can to muster up enough strength. He just needs a couple more miles per hour, but there are only 6 cars on that bottom line, and now he got 2 cars down on the front.
Yeah, there goes the 1 and, of course, the 76. This is going to be a race to the end here. And imagine this. This is a big move from these guys. Imagine this. These guys are all on 60-plus lap old tires right now. But these guys feeling bold, feeling confident. They make a move to the inside. We see Matt DeShionda and Derek Heitman challenging. 3 wide with Jason Maines in the middle.
Yeah, Jason Maines, I'm seeing a 1, but him and Nick King are definitely cozy down there, Brian. That could prove to be a point of contention as Brandon has his hands full. Josh Schaffner gets into Matt DeShionda, bumps him up high on the race surface. That's not going to bode well this week. Here comes Jason Maines making 3 wide. Maines
big problems.
into the wall. Nick
And the
King
yellow flag is out.
4 laps to go. This is going to be a green-white shootout. This will be your green. We're going to overtime. I'm going to assume.
Oh, this is definitely going to be overtime. Green-white checkered as we see this accident happen. Jason Maines, I do believe, possibly comes up into the 76 of Derek Heitman, and all kind of calamity just ensues.
Nick King, Randy Mullins, Paul Whitley, and Derek Heitman, all recipients of the dreaded repairs required flag. That's probably going to end their night, depending on how long it takes them to get those repairs corrected.
And that's even if they get to pit road.
Well, speaking of pit road, it is open and it is busy as everyone seems to be coming down. Don't think we'll have anybody that's going to risk it for the biscuit. And as soon as I said it.
Yeah, I was about to say, there are some that have elected to stay out.
What do you think?
I'm coming down pit road and taking a set of tires. I mean, because I feel like they're worth it. I think that especially with 67 laps on them, yes, I'm taking a set of tires.
I want the track position because the next flag's going to end it. No matter what color it is.
That's true. I mean, that is true. I do believe we are at right now 3 cautions. For cause, I do believe I'm in contention for possibly getting the ISCA meat tray that goes to the person that guesses the amount of cautions we're going to have. I'll be expecting that in the mail. Hopefully it doesn't go bad in the mail. 'Cause I know last time I got this, I won this caution guess thing. When I got the meat tray in the mail, it was rotted.
Yeah, I never got a meat tray. Hell,
Yeah,
I never
that's
got a
because
congratulations.
you won't give Kenny your address.
I never got a congratulations. Well, you know,
Big
man.
I'll give you a congratulations right now. Congratulations.
Our tiny home is on wheels, so I just never know where the hell we're gonna wake up at in the morning.
But it looks like a lot of people have elected to stay out here, which is shocking. But some getting some major damage repaired.
I think that's the only play personally. I'm not gonna give up track position and go back there to the loony bin. If you've been up front the whole time, you want to stay up front. You don't want to throw yourself in the dryer.
But think about this, though. I mean, the speed difference. I mean, we saw over a half a second of difference in the speed, right?
They got to get up here first.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a half a second faster, it's not going to be that hard. You can drive it wherever you want if you're a half a second faster. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, but you're having to come through 12 cars, Brian. I mean,
that's true. I'm just saying, it's just a point.
6 rows of traffic. That's 6 rows of Atlanta traffic.
I'd choose to do that. I would choose to get those fresh tires. I feel like that's worth it to me.
Apparently, you've never been in Atlanta traffic.
No, I've been to Atlanta. But no, I mean, I'm just saying that I get what you're saying, Big Al, but really that's not that many cars. I mean, now if you had to go through a 30-car field, yeah, I got you, but it's like 10 cars. Like if I had to try to pass 10 or 12 cars, like, and I was a half a second faster than them. But I get what you're saying, that there's limited space. Like you're not going to be able to use all that rubber to really get past these guys because there's limited space.
And you're talking about 12 guys that are on old tires that are doing everything they can to keep that thing pointed forward. Now you got to make it 3 wide, and you're just praying that they keep it down. It's just, man, it's just so much.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's a roll of the dice either way.
It's going to happen anyway. You're right. They're going to come from the back and try to make it to the front. They're going to make it 3 wide. Pace
Here we go.
Down and away.
And there it is. Green flag out. Brandon Pasalacqua, your leader currently. As we have, of course, a green-white checkered. And already we're seeing some blocks thrown. Blocks being thrown.
I mean, he's building a castle down there. Is what he's throwing blocks.
Yes, he really is. But Josh not going to be denied. 3 wide for the lead. Brian Johnson gets into the rear end of the 6 to try to push him. Mandy Ciani is held out by his. No one is helping the 1.
Oh!
Randy Drumhiller. We're going to see the white flag, though. The white flag is out here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and Brandon Pasalacqua right now is in the lead. Greg Wachinski. Where did he come from?
He's going to be on the podium if he keeps it going. Josh out there getting really beat up. There's Kenny Puttle caught up into it. That's your caution right there. It's not out yet. Well, we just tore up a bunch of race cars. Oh, Lord Jesus, help us.
And Greg Wachinski, this is almost like a win, I feel like, for Greg.
This is a win for Greg. That's a win for the entire world right there. Lost a lot of cars on that last lap.
And Greg even said that he was coming into these playoffs with a different mindset, and I think he just showed it here tonight. But I gotta say, we can't take away from Brandon. Brandon winning 2 races in a row, won last week at Darlington Raceway, and he comes home into victory lane here at Atlanta. What a big moment for the Paradigm drivers as we see a big bump there to the rear end of the 4. The 4 giving one to the 6, and congratulations. You see Randy comes up, gives a congratulations. That's a little bit of a too hard of a hit, Randy, but we got to be able to take these cars home and rebuild them.
Yeah, I wonder if they.
What a race! J.C. Evans finishes 4th, and he hasn't been back in the ISCA in quite a while, and he finishes in 4th. What a job!
I wonder if they got to worry about the burnout competition. We gotta rate this burnout now.
That's right. We got to do it.
Wow.
1.
No show.
I give him a 1 on that.
Wow.
All All right, yeah, he gets negative points on that one. Let's go down through the final running order. Brandon Kozlakwa, your winner here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Brian Johnson finishes in second place. Greg Wachinski, the 5 machine, up in third place. J.C. Evans in fourth. Matt DeCiani fifth. Patrick Gitter in sixth. John Bender in seventh. Good on him. Jason Maines in eighth. Jay Hone ninth. Paul Hill in 10th.
11th place is going to be Randy Mullins with Nick King in 12th. Randy Drumhiller comes home in 13th with the Iceman Josh Schaffner coming home in 14th. Abner Acosta 15th with Dylan Banks, a brother from another mother, coming home in 16th. 17th shows Jose Acosta. 18th, Mark the Dirty Sanchez. Kenny Powell coming in 24th, and Chris D. Johnson rounds out the top 20.
21st is going to be Jose Medina, Paul Whitney in 22nd. Derek Heitman, who was ran up in the top 5 quite a bit, finishes 23rd. Frank Flores 24th. Paul Olson in 25th. Derek Jacobs finishes 26th. Kendall LeBron 27th. Randy Belkin 28th. Jeffrey Souza 29th. Clayton Hoffman in 30th. I don't believe we saw, well, yep, Andrew Russo, he did run some laps here tonight. He finishes 31st. Definitely an interesting race here tonight. We're going to unpack it a little bit when we interview our top 3 drivers. We're going to go ahead and take a brief step away. We'll be right back.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series. Of course, what a race we saw here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. This is the first playoff race, and I'll tell you what, we just kicked off the playoffs with a bang here tonight. We're going to go ahead and kick off our interviews with a bang as well. We're going to talk to Greg Wachinski, who I don't think we've had him up here in the booth in quite some time. Greg, do you read me?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Brian?
Doing great, man. I got to say, we were super, super excited to see you finish up on the podium. I think we got louder about you finishing in third than we did about Brandon winning 2 races in a row. I talked to you yesterday, and you said something about bringing a little bit of a different mindset to the playoffs? Do you think that's what happened here tonight?
I mean, yeah. I mean, this is one of those tracks where you just can't give an inch, really. You just got to kind of go for it, hold on tight the whole time.
Well, I know some of your other G&G teammates didn't fare out as well. I know Kenny Powell didn't as much. What do you think allowed you to succeed where they didn't?
Probably just luck, really. I mean, Kenny's had some bad luck lately. I feel bad for him. I think Mark had some problems there too this race, so yeah, it's pretty bad.
I know JC came back and he finished in 4th place as well. So, I mean, did you guys put a lot of time in kind of getting ready for Atlanta?
I mean, I wish I could say yeah. I mean, I've run, maybe 100 laps, 150 laps maybe. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry here. I mean, it's pack racing, and it's just, it's nerve-wracking the whole time. It's similar to Talladega, Daytona, but to me it's just a bit more intense. Getting through the tri-oval is difficult every single lap. It's just a tough track.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. It's kind of a hybrid in a lot of ways, and tire wear seemed to be something that a lot of guys were having to deal with as well. Was that something you had to kind of contend with?
I mean, yeah, right, at the end, like especially that end there where we had 70 laps on our tires or something like that. I mean, the front end it just dies in the middle of the corner. You get tight, and I can see it's not just me; it's a lot of people struggling with that same problem. But it really hurts you, like especially there at the end where I'm trying to go win the race, and turned right in the middle of turn 3 and 4 there. I just got so tight. There was nothing. I couldn't even try to make a maneuver or anything to try to get around him. I don't think I would have been able to anyway. But yeah, the tires definitely, they get greasy. That's what I call it, greasy.
Well, you definitely were able to kind of get through the greasiness and still finished in 3rd place. I mean, a really good points day. So what is the priority? I mean, I know in 3 races we're going to see 4 drivers, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much going home. They're not going to be able to continue to compete in the playoffs. Is that what you're kind of looking at? Like, hey, I need to get enough points to be above that line?
Well, Brandon's not going to be one of them. So, congratulations to him. I always root for Brandon. He's a good guy, good racer. I mean, I just come out and race every week and just try to do the best I can and be clean. It all sort itself out.
But what are you feeling about Watkins Glen?
I like Watkins Glen. That's one of my favorite tracks on iRacing. So, I plan to have a good race and hopefully a good finish.
Well, we're definitely hoping for you, Greg. Glad to see you up in the top 3. Who can we give a shout out to?
Well, of course, you guys, Brian, Al, and Kobe up in the booth. G&G Racing. Of course, the Baltimore Orioles. God love them. Kenny for putting on the league as always. And that's about it.
All right, Greg. Well, thanks for your time, and hopefully we'll get to see you up here in the booth more often in the playoffs.
I hope so, too. You got to take care.
All righty, that was the 5 of Greg Wychinski driving the G&G machine. Definitely an awesome performance. Big Al's going to be standing by next with Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson, Big Al up in the booth. You got me.
Big Al, got you, man.
Man, Brian says, wow, Brian Johnson's in the top 5. Wow, Brian Johnson finished 2nd. Congratulations.
Thank you. I can't believe it. I had some really bad luck the last few weeks, so it feels good to pull off a 2nd place here tonight.
Yeah, definitely going to be looking pretty good there in the playoff kitty for you.
Oh, yeah. Racked up some pretty good points, some good stage points. So congrats to Brandon on the win. So he's moving on to the next round. So hopefully I'm right behind him there.
So here in the playoffs, it's late in the season. What are your goals? What would really bring and solidify a great season, on top of the playoffs for Brian Johnson?
Well, the goal is always to win, right? That would definitely help the playoff situation. But putting up good finishes every week, finishing top 5, that's tough to do in this league. There's a lot of good guys, good drivers, fast drivers to compete with. So just putting up good finishes from here on out.
Well, we're kind of hoping that you can do that. Next week, we're going to stagger on down to Watkins Glen. How you feeling about that track?
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped for Watkins Glen. I'm not the best road racer, but I do enjoy it. So we'll put in some laps and some practice time and see what we can do.
Yeah, all right, man. I'm gonna get you out of here so you can go celebrate. So who you shouting out for your second place finish?
Yeah, first shout out to Brandon. Congrats on the win. We worked together great all night. He was an awesome pusher all night. So there at the end, I had to pay it back. So when I was pushing him, I told him, "Hang on, we're going to win this thing." So hooked up and pushed him across the line. So congrats to him. And shout out to OB Builders, Ram. Shout out to Southern Spiral Pipe. Obviously, you guys up in the booth, Big Out, Kobe, Brian, Britt. You guys do an awesome job every week. So shout out to y'all and Kenny as well for putting on the week.
Man, I tell you what, solid performance for you here this week. Hope you do the same next week. Wish you continued success. As I always say, don't drink, don't party too hard. Man, get me out of here. I had too much, Kenny.
I'll try not to, Big Al. Thanks, man.
Alrighty, that was Brian Johnson, driver of the 4 Machine. Next up, we're going to be talking to his teammate, Brandon Pasalacqua. Brandon, do you read me?
I got you, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I mean, probably not as good as you are right now, considering you conquered the Lady in Black last week, and now you've conquered Atlanta Motor Speedway. I mean, 2 in a row, as well as you've pretty much punched your ticket into the round of 12. How you feeling?
Yeah, no, it was a great day, and it's good to get the win and just not have to worry about fighting for points the rest of this first round. So definitely take the win and not have to worry about Watkins Glen. The one I was really worried about was Bristol. It's easy to get taken out there pretty early in the race, so it's good to get the win and not have to worry about that.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't think you would have had to worry about points that much anyway. I mean, because considering Watkins Glen, I mean, you probably would have easily gotten a top 5 at a track like that. Now, Bristol is a whole different story. I'd say I can understand you there. But at least you can kind of go out there and still, run and try different things and just have some fun. I mean, I think that's going to be a good thing for you for sure, Brandon. But, man, I feel like there's been a switch that has been flipped here to where a lot of times I think we would say you're a consistent driver. But I feel like in a lot of ways now you're like, I can win and you're becoming more of a championship contender. Do you feel that?
Yeah, and I appreciate those words, and I do feel that way. I mean, obviously, it's an uphill battle. I say every week that we have tremendous drivers in this league, and it's like Brian mentioned, it's hard to even get a top 5. So my average finish this year is not where it was last year, but I think my overall speed is much better, especially on long runs. So I've improved a lot there, and I mean, the goal for the rest of this, first round, just to try to go get playoff points, right? Don't need to worry about just getting points in general. So that would be the goal, to kind of help make these next 2 rounds easier and hopefully have a shot to fight against the best in the round of 4.
Well, one thing you just said there, I gotta comment on. You said, Brian did say it's incredibly hard to get top 5s in this series, but you have the most of them, Brandon.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's it's kind of double-sided there. I run in almost every race where a lot of guys, have missed a good number of races. So, I've just been fortunate. I have a great team behind me with Brian, Chris, Randy, and Josh, and I rely on those guys to help me with making small adjustments to the setups and just during the week work on my pace. So, huge shout out to my team, and they're the reason why I've had pace this year.
Yeah, I definitely believe, I agree, it's a team sport for sure, and they have definitely been helping you for sure. And I just wanted to point that out, and you are impressive to us up here in the booth as well, Brandon. We'd love to watch you. Watkins Glen, how are you preparing for that?
Yeah, put more laps in at Watkins Glen this week than I have at Atlanta. So I think Patrick and Matt whooped our tail last year there by a good margin. So we'll be interested to see if we made any gains there with those guys. I know that'll be tough to do, but I love road racing, as I always say, and you come out there with the top 5 and hopefully all the stages and at the end of the race will be a good deal. So excited to go there. That's my home track when I used to live back up in upstate New York. So always a good time to go there.
All right, we're looking forward to seeing what you can do, Brandon. Who can we shout out?
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Greg for running P3. It's always great to see him up running well, and he's a staple in this league. And he hasn't missed one race all year, so it's good to see him get the great finish. And Greg, I appreciate the kind words you mentioned about me in your interview. shout out to Brian. Him and I worked extremely well together. I was driving behind him all race. And I just kind of followed his lead, and like you said, he kind of returned the favor. But he had the car to beat. I think out of our team, being up front, it's just a matter. There was a huge segment of time where we were all trying to just save enough fuel to get to the end, and he unfortunately was leading and pushing so much he had to drop back, and that was very selfless of him. So great running with him. Josh worked well with us at the end there. Randy was right there, and Chris was up there in the beginning. It's been a long time since we ran really well together as a team at drafting tracks, so today was really good to see that we still do have the ability to run well here. And so a huge shout out to everybody at Paradigm. Shout out to Obi Builders, Ram Welding and Fabrication, everything you guys do, put on the broadcast each week, and then shout out to Kenny. We appreciate it, and shout out to the playoff banners. They're pretty sweet.
All right, Brandon. Well, thanks for your time, man, and we'll see you next week at Watkins.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Take care.
Alrighty, that was Brandon Pasalacqua. He has won 2 races in a row, and I think I do believe that's 4 on the season for him. So definitely a fantastic performance from him, and as well as the other top 3 drivers. Brian Johnson had a stellar performance here tonight. Could have easily won this race as well as Greg Wyszynski finishing 3rd. It's going to be some great points. It's going to make it very easy, or a lot easier, I should say, to get into the round of 12. Big Al, what are your final thoughts about the race tonight?
Wow. Playoffs are here, baby. In this time, it's going to be shook up. I mean, congratulations to the top 16, and guys, hope they keep their nose to it. Yeah. Overall, great experience. Thank you for your time and in great words. Thanks, Kobe, for what he does down in the booth. Thanks to Kenny putting it on, and the drivers. Man, we couldn't do it without you guys. Thanks for giving us something to talk about. That's all I got, man.
That's for sure. Definitely a big shout out to all the drivers that show up and give us something to talk about. Because, I mean, these guys just put on a tremendous show. I'll tell you, sometimes it's funner to watch this ISCA race than it is to watch the actual NASCAR race. I think that's not a stretch. It's definitely a lot of fun, a lot of drama, a lot of storylines always going on week to week here in the ISCA. And you're not going to want to miss next week. We're going to be heading to Watkins Glen, New York, and we're going to be doing some lefts and some rights. And I'll tell you, that's a really familiar track for NASCAR fans. I mean, whenever I think of NASCAR road course racing, I think of Watkins Glen. That is the track that comes to mind. And I think we're going to have a stellar time. Of course, it's going to be all about limiting your mistakes. That's going to be the key to win Watkins Glen. And I can't wait to see how it looks for sure. But you're going to have to wait until then. Of course, watch and tune in on next Thursday, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we go live. The race itself will go green a little after 9:30, and it'll be an exciting one for sure. You're not going to want to miss it. We hope to see you there. This has been the ISCA. Brian Britt here, and we'll see you next time.
I found the ISCA after I'd been in the service for a long time. I've been in iRacing for well over a decade and spent most of my time in NASCAR series, a lot of fixed racing for the most part, and really just got to a point in my iRacing career where I really wanted to get involved in open setup racing versus fixed, partially because I was just looking for a little higher level of competition, maybe a little cleaner driving, and maybe get away from some of the challenges that go along with fixed racing on the service. And it took me a while as I was really searching out leagues because I kind of had a very specific thing I was looking for. A, I wanted to be an established league. B, I just really wanted clean, quality drivers to be racing around. And once I found the ISCA, I found out really quick that it was going to check all those boxes. And